Chosen one. Have you noticed how strange life feels lately? People are more connected than ever, yet somehow more disconnected emotionally. Everyone is constantly online, constantly scrolling, constantly consuming noise. But very few people actually feel peace anymore. And maybe that is why you have been feeling so tired. Not normal tiredness, and not the kind sleep fixes, but a deep exhaustion that sits inside your spirit even when your body is resting. You wake up with no energy for the world. You stare at your phone for hours without truly wanting to be there. You delay things you genuinely care about. Your dreams still matter to you, but your mind feels heavy every time you try to move forward. And slowly, you started calling yourself lazy. But chosen one, what if you were never lazy? What if your soul has simply become exhausted from surviving in a world that constantly overloads the human mind? We are living in one of the loudest periods in human history. The average person wakes up and instantly absorbs stress before even leaving bed. Notifications, bad news, social media comparisons, fake lifestyles, pressure to succeed, pressure to stay productive, pressure to constantly perform for the internet. People are no longer resting mentally. Even silence has disappeared. And for chosen ones, this world feels even heavier because you experience life more deeply than most people around you. You do not just hear energy, you absorb it. You notice fake conversations immediately. You feel drained after spending time around negativity. You overthink small interactions for hours. You crave meaning in a world addicted to distraction. And after years of carrying this emotional intensity, your spirit eventually becomes tired, not weak, not broken, exhausted. The dangerous thing about spiritual exhaustion is that it looks exactly like laziness from the outside. People see you spending time alone and assume you are wasting your life. They see unfinished projects and think you lack discipline. They see your silence and assume you have no ambition. But what they cannot see are the invisible battles happening inside your mind every single day. The constant overthinking, the emotional pressure, the loneliness of feeling misunderstood, the mental exhaustion of trying to survive in a world that rarely slows down long enough to breathe. Chosen ones often feel guilty for resting because modern culture worships productivity. People today are praised for being constantly busy, even when they are emotionally destroyed inside. But your soul was never designed to function like a machine. And maybe that is why you feel disconnected from modern life lately. Because your spirit is rejecting the noise. Think about how many people today cannot even sit alone with their thoughts for 5 minutes without reaching for distraction. The moment silence appears, they open another app, another video, another conversation, another source of stimulation. But chosen ones are different. You feel everything deeply. And sometimes your exhaustion comes from carrying emotions nobody even knows you are battling. Some of you are still carrying pain from years ago while pretending to be okay every day. Some of you became emotionally strong too early in life. You learned how to survive instead of heal. You became the listener for everyone else while silently drowning inside yourself. And eventually, your nervous system begins shutting down from the overload. That is why some chosen ones isolate themselves for long periods of time. Not because they hate people, but because their spirit needs recovery. Maybe you have noticed this in your own life recently. You want peace more than attention. You want quiet more than excitement. Crowded places exhaust you. Constant conversations drain your energy. Even social media has started feeling empty. You scroll through endless content, but nothing truly fulfills you anymore. Because your soul is searching for depth in a world built around distraction. And honestly, many chosen ones are spiritually exhausted because they are trying to live in environments that constantly disconnect them from themselves. You were not created to spend your entire life overstimulated. Yet modern life trains people to live in permanent mental overload. Fast content, fast opinions, fast relationships, fast entertainment. Everything moves quickly now, except healing. Nobody teaches people how to rest emotionally anymore. Nobody teaches people how to process pain. People are told to keep going while silently collapsing inside. And chosen ones feel this deeply because your awareness is stronger than most people realize. There are people listening to this right now who have secretly lost motivation over the past few years. Not because they stopped caring about life, but because their spirit became overwhelmed. You try to focus on your goals, but your mind feels heavy. You try to stay disciplined, but emotionally you feel disconnected. You want to move forward, but something inside you feels tired all the time. And the worst part is, you probably judge yourself for it. You compare yourself to people online who seem energetic and successful every day. But social media hides emotional reality. Many people are performing happiness while secretly exhausted themselves. The modern world rewards appearances, but your soul craves authenticity. That is why chosen ones often feel out of place in today's society. You can sense when something feels fake. And after years of pretending, performing, and emotionally suppressing yourself, your spirit eventually reaches a breaking point, not to destroy you, but to wake you up. Sometimes God allows exhaustion because He is trying to pull you away from the version of yourself that was surviving instead of truly living. Read that carefully. Some people are functioning, but spiritually disconnected from themselves completely. They work endlessly, consume endlessly, scroll endlessly, distract themselves endlessly. But deep down they feel empty, and maybe your exhaustion is forcing you to finally confront what your soul truly needs. Not more stimulation, not more pressure, not more fake productivity. Peace, clarity, stillness, healing, purpose. That is why some chosen ones suddenly withdraw from people, noise, and social media. Your spirit begins craving silence because silence is where truth becomes visible. And honestly, one of the biggest reasons chosen ones become spiritually exhausted is because they care too deeply in a world that has become emotionally numb. You care about meaning, you care about energy, you care about truth, you care about genuine connection. But modern culture often rewards shallow distractions instead of depth. That creates inner conflict because part of you wants to belong, while another part of you feels completely disconnected from the direction society is moving. And that conflict drains energy every single day, especially when you feel like nobody around you truly understands how deeply you experience life. But chosen one, listen carefully. Your exhaustion is not proof that you are failing. Sometimes it is proof that your soul can no longer tolerate environments, habits, and patterns that are misaligned with who you are becoming. The old version of you survived by ignoring your inner world. But healing begins when you finally stop running from yourself. Maybe this season of exhaustion is not punishment. Maybe it is spiritual redirection. Maybe God is slowing you down because your spirit needs rebuilding before your next chapter begins. Because exhausted souls cannot carry meaningful purpose for long without collapsing. That is why rest is important, silence is important, protecting your energy is important, not because you are weak, but because deep minds absorb more than most people realize. And perhaps this message found you during a moment where you have been questioning yourself, questioning your motivation, questioning your future, questioning why life suddenly feels heavier than it used to. If that is you, remember this. You are not lazy for feeling mentally overwhelmed in a world that never stops overstimulating the human mind. You are not weak for needing distance from constant noise. And you are not broken for feeling spiritually exhausted after carrying invisible battles for years. Some souls are simply tired from surviving too long without true peace. But exhaustion is not the end of your story. Sometimes it is the beginning of awakening, because eventually, your spirit becomes too tired to continue living disconnected from what truly matters. And maybe that is exactly where your transformation begins. Not in endless productivity, not in pretending to be okay, but in finally choosing peace over pressure, silence over noise, and healing over survival. Chosen one. Maybe your soul is not asking you to do more right now. Maybe it is asking you to breathe again.